Thank you for coming this time, brothers. This is a burden that has always been here. Brother Lee spoke about this 35 years ago when he began to sense a move away from this ministry. And in various times he has spoken in a way that he said made him foolish, because this is his ministry. And he said that if this was the ministry of Watchman Nee, he would spend all of his life to go from church to church to recommend Watchman Nee's ministry to the saints. Brother Watchman Nee is gone. Brother Witness Lee is gone. We're here. Before Brother Lee went to the Lord, I think we've all heard this. A sister asked him, "Brother Lee, what will we do in your absence?" He very simply said, "It's all in the books. It's all in the books." This burden is directly related to that, brothers. And I would say, to follow Steve, our entering into this, our visitation of the churches, our fellowship with the brothers has been a great joy and a confirmation that this is very much something the Lord is burdened for and praying for, interceding for. So I would just like to follow Steve. I'd like to say our visiting and revisiting of the churches is continuing, ongoing, and we would like to extend ourselves to the churches where you are, whether that's a group of churches or individual churches. We don't want you to have to come to us. We'd like to go visit you. And I think in that way it would be a more freer fellowship and a better way to know the saints and one another and the burden and practically enter into it. So please keep that in mind. And our principle is we go when you can receive us, and we can spend any amount of time but we like to spend time with the elders, and then with those have some time with the elders and the ones serving in the book service, in the publication service, and then if the time allows and you feel it's helpful, to speak to the saints on the Lord's Day. Or we had a wonderful meeting in Phoenix. The brothers called a meet. We had met with the Mountain States brothers in the morning. In the afternoon, in the evening, they had a time for the saints just from that area to come, and there were over 100 saints, just very, very short notice, who came, and we had a wonderful time of fellowship. So that's the clock is ticking fast. I would like to focus on something very practical. Brother Minoru just gave us a message on the practicality of how to enter into the heavenly ministry of Christ. The practicality of this burden is that in every local church, with the involvement and the leading of the elders, a book service, a publication service would be established or established already and strengthened, and that this book service would be the critical point through which this burden can be developed among all the saints. This is not a book service that consists of faithfully distributing the holy word for morning revival on whatever schedule you are. That should never stop. But this is a book service that would begin, number one, by those saints, including the elders, and maybe if you have a number of brothers in the eldership, one brother particularly with the burden for this matter, would he himself and those burdened with him first practice the entry into this ministry personally. Yesterday, Minoru talked about a model I would say the principle of this book service is it models what Brother Lee has spoken to us. It models developing an addiction to this ministry. It models not leaving as an orphan Brother Lee's ministry for us, Brother Lee's burden for us to enter into the truth through the life studies. It's a model to the church. It's a model to the saints. And as we know, if we have a burden for the campus, or we have a burden for the children, or if we have a burden for the community, or if we have a burden to serve in some aspect of the church life, we meet and we pray. We pray together corporately. I can't be more emphatic about this as the key to developing this burden. Brothers, it's practical. It requires the involvement of the eldership. It requires burdened saints. It requires time and energy and location. Without these things, this burden will die. This burden will be essentially orphaned, uncared for, and short-lived. This is the way Brother Lee characterized our attitude toward his ministry and his encouraging the saints to enter into the life studies. He said, "It seems as though this matter is nothing to you brothers." This was in 1984. I go to a 110, right? So, brothers, these are the components of a practical book service that will be the landing point, that will be where this burden is planted and where it grows under our care, under our observation. You could say as this is where Joseph and Mary's service come in. You have Joseph as the leadership. You have Mary with the life and the burden. You put these two together, you will grow a hunger for this ministry, or you will reignite. I see a lot of brothers here who I consider the beneficiaries uniquely of this ministry. You not only came here because of it, but you've remained here because of it. I see a lot of brothers here who are, well, we are all the beneficiaries of this. Would you be sitting here today if it were not for what you received of the Lord directly through the books? Forget about somebody taking care of you. Someone took care of you named Witness Lee. And he did that by speaking and publishing every word he could possibly record. We're beneficiaries of this. We need to consider this in that light. Then to the younger generation, this is a young crowd. You have a lot of young brothers here. Brothers, you are the beneficiary of this, but if you would give yourself the time and the energy to become an addict. That's not a good word today. This is not substance abuse. This is substance use, right? This is what it takes. This is what it takes for the Lord to raise up 318 overcomers. This ministry produces overcomers. Those who serve this ministry could be doing a work that will produce overcomers and yet themselves not be in that process. So for the young brothers, I have more to say to the old guys because I'm getting there. I wouldn't be here without one book that I read. So, brothers, it's all in the books. And where are the books? The books are in Anaheim, California, in a 50,000 square foot warehouse. So this is a burden that we would bring ourselves into this ministry, and that we would bring this ministry, these publications, I should say, the publications of this ministry into our life, into our living, and that we would bring these publications into where we are, into our own home, into the hall, into the saints' homes, and into the saints' hearts. This is the publication service. I'd say this with a joy that I can be I appreciate my salvation and my going on with the Lord. The more I speak about this, we're full of joy. We're very available, and we do pray practically, though, brothers. We must practice. The first matter is the opening, the developing or the establishing and strengthening and energizing book service in your church. That's 10 people, that's 500 people, with the elders and the burdened saints, sisters and brothers, under the leadership of the elders, to become what we are speaking about. And if this is underway, we will see the Lord's blessing. We will see the raising up of overcomers. We'll see the increase and spread of the Lord's testimony. We will fulfill Brother Lee's burden, which we surely believe was the burden of the Lord.